What year were you
Oh my
born?
God.
We have that. We
68.
gotta get it done. Oh man, you're Gen X.
I am Gen X. You boomer?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. 63, man. I'm at the
Nice.
tail end. I'm that generation that's like stuck in between.
Right.
So I'm too young to say that Pearl Jam is a ripoff of Neil Young. Well, hey, dude, welcome to the Clean and Sober Stoner YouTube podcast and inaugural Monster Riff thing.
Congratulations.
Doesn't it feel different? Isn't the air better now? We're Monster Riff.
Well, I mean, I'm glad that, like I said, I think to you before, I wrote that I was excited that you were taking that up, and Pat did such a great job with it. Pat was, such a great guy. I was fortunate enough to work with him and get some advice from him, and he was always solid advice and so much help, and just the kindest guy, just so kind. So
yeah, he does. If you meet him on the street, he's not going to jump out at you as oh, hardcore stoner dude. Right. But he is. The thing is, he literally gave me the keys to a Porsche. I don't know the control panel. Like I can write whatever I want on there, but it's like he has these weird SEO centric settings, and I'm like,
yeah.
So it's going to take me a couple
absolutely
weeks
the learning curve, right?
Be able to do it. Yeah, it's it's a little steep. It's a little steep. So, dude, we've been like chatting on Instagram.
Yeah, we have. I mean, it's been great getting to know you and seeing what you've been doing, and
it takes me forever. Like as soon as somebody I kind of know them, they're at the back of the line to get on to an interview. That's part of it. I used to be a one-man show. I'm not a one-man show anymore. So I have Gypsy. I have Blake.
Oh yeah,
who
I know Blake very well. Yes.
Yeah, he turned me on to you guys.
That's great. He has been somebody that has had the greatest influence on the direction of how just understanding the business of this and how to go about it. He was the first person I reached out to when I finished my first album and had no idea what to do with it. I just happened one morning to be looking on my phone and saw an interview with him, and the whole thing revolved around the idea of how he was kind of a DIY, outfit, and he just laid out everything. And I knew I had to reach out. And he even said in there that you got to reach out to people, you got to talk to people, you got to find ways to, learn. And that's been kind of my whole thing, is just continue to learn from as many people as possible. But he started it for me. Yeah.
My first interview with Blake, he's like, yeah, you should really interview Astral Construct, and I'll set it up. And in those days, I'm like, dude, I can do one of these a month. Because back then it was taking me 13 hours to edit, because if you screw up the audio on these things, you're screwed.
Right.
So yeah, that's been the biggest challenge. So are you associated with King Volume?
No, I've spoken with Todd several times. He's a really nice guy, great guy, and has been very supportive of what I've been doing. But no, I'm not in with any labels right now. I'm just kind of free floating.
Okay, so what did Blake teach you? So for before we get into why we're here, how do you do it? I have a specific question. How do you upload to
Bandcamp? Well, I think that they do a good job of, well, they take your money, but they do a good job of showing you what the steps are and how to get yourself to get that in there. You have your WAV files, you just got to upload it, and it's pretty simple the way they have it, so you can walk through things. So that's nice. That was one of the easier things, fortunately, to do. I think what I learned on the last album was sometimes not as easy to do the embed to send it to someone who then does a premiere of it or whatever. It can sometimes be a little challenging, but yeah, it's not too bad.
Yeah, you have to find those yum codes, right?
Yep. I got to get some help.
How do you do that?
How do you find the young people?
the yum codes. It's like, it's a link to your, and then the last part is yum. And then a chucklehead like me can just, embed that into my page.
This last time, I don't know what it was. Maybe there was just something that was a mess last time when I tried it, but I just did one and sent it off to Outlaws of the Sun with Steve Howe, and it just did it. I mean, the code was there, everything was perfect, and yeah, it was great. And then as far as sending codes to people, they give you a whole list of them. You just got to kind of keep track of which ones did you use and send to people, and they generate those pretty easily for you. So it's nice. It's nice. Yeah.
Okay. So it's not that simple. So even a caveman, even an astral construct could do
exactly. You sound like Blake.
I have probably spent too much time lately talking. I'm kidding, Blake. Every minute well spent. Seriously, we were texting last night, and I think he disowned me. I've never listened to the band Mizmor, and he's like, he fakes being pissed. It's like that.
Oh yeah, so he gets outraged, right? Yeah.
I don't listen to it because it's too much like Macklemore. I keep expecting some, middleweight rap thing to be coming at me.
Yeah.
I better take that out.
Yeah.
Okay, you've picked one of the most interesting genres to do. You're instrumental.
That's correct. Yep. I haven't done any vocals yet.
But you're doing the spacey, ethereal, like space stuff, and ever since SpacePsyc made space rock cool again, I'm fascinated. What brought you into that particular?
I don't know. I can kind of pinpoint where I kind of moved. I don't want to say away, because I'll never move fully away from the more metal side of things that I listen to. I know you and I have talked about, or we've shared a common interest in Opeth, for example, and that sort of music. But I think that I began to kind of move in a more psychedelic direction, listening to Color Haze. The song Temple was a really big deal to me. That changed some of my thinking on things, and then getting into Earthless and other bands like that. And I think that there was just, when I started writing, there just seemed to be this natural movement in that direction in the way that I wrote. I think the writing took place before the theme took place. So in other words, just once I listened to what I was writing, I was like, this really lends itself to more of a space kind of thing. And so that was a big deal as far as how that goes. And I think being COVID when it really started, there was that sense of kind of, as we all felt to some degree, loneliness or kind of, not being connected with people. And I think that also really made me think about space. And so I think that was just how it all kind of formed during that time.
One-man band
right now. Yes. The bass, the synth, the guitars, all mine. I've had to use drum stuff for things, but each time I've done something, I'm trying to go a little further with it. And I think the next obvious step is bringing in other people and starting with a drummer. So I'm going to start looking at finding somebody to fill those parts in for me, or together. Not for
any live gigging? Do you have any have you even thought about just get a couple loopers?
I've thought about it, and actually I've kind of reached out a little bit here and there, but I haven't really pursued it fully. But it's something I keep getting ready to dip my foot into and do, but just haven't quite got there yet. I don't know. I'm just having so much fun just recording and working on stuff. I don't know. It's just been how it is.
What are you recording on? What, I'll save That's the fun. Geek stuff for after we listen to the song, but it just in general, what's your workflow?
Well, I'm using the amps and stuff behind me here. Basic SM57 mic, and another mic that is more like a Sennheiser. And then going into the Scarlet Focusrite, and then into the computer from there, and then it's Reaper. I just use Reaper. I've been real happy with that. It's you know, an easy learning curve. You know, Pro Tools and things like that probably isn't too bad, but I don't know. You hear stories, and so I've gone this way.
You know, I have yet to hear of a situation where someone could go, "Oh, that was Pro Tools," but this one right. I've used Reaper. Like when I say I used Reaper, it's like one right. channel, and it's like, this sounds horrible. So you use real amps. You're not using plugins,
with the bass parts. Yes, I have done that, but everything else is direct. Well, and the synth goes straight in as well. But as far as guitars, yeah, it's all amps. It's all amps. Not very high watt amps, because this room is not going to take that. But yeah. It works pretty well. Pretty happy.
Wait, you don't have a full stack of Marshall behind you in your little... What are you using on the bass? What's
an Ignator amp, about a 20 watt Rebel, and a Jet City amp that's another 20 watt amp, and I put it through different types of speakers, and I got some of the smaller ones behind me, but I got a big 2x12 kind of oversized one of the old Gins Bins ones that had the ports on the bottom and everything. And yeah.
I love Gins Bins.
I know. I've always had something about them. I don't know why I like them so much, but they've always been pretty cool.
Yeah, we just covered the Gensler Kinetics 800 on bass gear. And it's like, I don't need an 800 watt tube amp for any reason whatsoever. And I'm like, I really want this amp.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay. What song do we... So this is the way this works. I have never listened to this. I have no idea. Which is a high risk, high wire move. So what are we hearing? It's
three moons. Moons, yes. This is another part of the kind of space thing and the idea of that journey. And I've always kind of focused on it being a journey by one person, and being what I call the traveler, and the person who is out there literally exploring, but looking for something beyond just like, what do I find? But there's something still that they're looking for, and you know, it's very unclear what that is, right? But it's they need some connection.
So it's a character driven in your head. It's a character driven all the stuff you've done.
Very much so.
Oh, that's fascinating. Where can I find a copy of that?
I need to write that down.
Or do I have to do it? Wait, I have to do that here on Clean and Sober Stoner Monster Riff, and then figure out which way. Right. That's awesome. Here, the reason I mention that, and people can say in the comments below, but I think it makes a difference. Like, again, Space Slug. They let you know out the gate that it's about a slug in space. And from that context, which is ridiculous, but oh my God, some of my favorite stuff, I think it makes a difference. I really does. So I'm excited. So, okay, let's set up the narrative. What's the traveler doing?
I think that it's coming upon, I mean, I guess the idea of how some planets have multiple moons, and you know, the idea of how different those moons can be from each other. Like on Jupiter, for example, you know, you got Io and Ganymede and Europa, and you know, those definitely kind of appealed to me. The idea of how you would see so many different things in such a short, well, I guess it wouldn't really be that short, but in that same area of that one planet. And so being able to kind of search for that, look, what would be the emotions you would feel? So trying to create that setting of a mood, and then the heaviness that has to come in later, because, you know, these are giant moons. They're huge, and that is something. But I think what's really important is I can have my narrative that drives me, but what really I'm trying to accomplish is create something that drives somebody else's own narrative, not just mine. I want them to kind of imagine what it's going to be. And that's exciting to me.
Okay, now I can't wait. Now I can't wait. We need to jump right in. So does this start real low and slow? Like
it does have a bit of a mellower feeling at first, and then gets a little heavier as it goes, and then back in the middle, there's a different kind of atmosphere that's created as well. It's a little more mellow. Yes.
Okay. Well, I recommend to the audience, put your headphones on for at least this part, and let's take a little trip, man, to the Three Moons. My Cheech and Chong imitation isn't all that good. I hate to interrupt. I'm trying not to. You're doing something I've never heard, where there's some dissonance with the bass. So the bass it's almost like, and then it resolves. Somebody goes either a half step down and that is wonderfully executed. It's like, I've got the look on my face, so I'm taking notes. So let's deal with it now. That is nice. I love that because it throws me out and then it brings me back in.
Well, I love just instrumentation and having its own space. And, I am not a very conventional bass player. I admit it. I try to lock into the groove on certain spots, but I also kind of take the, when I had it mixed, I sent it out saying, I want Geddy Lee and Justin Chancellor in the mix, not, Jason Newsted, the Injustice for All mix where the bass was buried way behind. I want it there. I want it out there. And I like to make it, something that you hear those parts pretty well and that doesn't always just follow a groove. So.
Yeah, that's very clever that you would do that. Thanks. I like that. Like,
well, I know as a bass player, you might appreciate. Yeah.
I'm not biased in any way. Damn thing's too short.
What's that?
That's too short. Okay, there's so many things, and I'm not a music critic. I don't pretend to be. But in my head, I am. At the 2-minute mark's probably my favorite part. It's when you have that resolve. And then, what the hell are you doing? You're playing intervals and chords on the bass.
Yeah.
It's like, that's so, it's such a small thing, right? But to me, it's huge because very few people do that, where normally it'd be a double guitar or we'd have another synthesizer. The synthesizer's in the background making noise, right? It's very chaotic. I would love to see that synth track. It's because that's chaotic. The bass, you're using it in a way that I'm just not used to hearing. The one band that comes to mind is Aphrodite's Child, where, extremely psychedelic. Nobody knew how to play the instrument. Like, the music was way ahead of their ability to play. But you're using the bass in the same way, where the bass is announcing the change, the bass is announcing. I love that. It's different. I can babble forever. Because normally I'm going to get a synth-based, guitar-based, right? And where the bass and the drums are playing basically a click track. It could have been done with one of those drum machines. It's almost like you deconstructed it.
Well, I think that, I don't know. I grew up music in my household. My mother was a piano player and had studied music in college and got her master's and all that. And one of my first understandings of recorded music was parents playing classical music in the house, and my mom also being kind of a music educator, always talking about, can you hear that instrument? Can you hear that instrument? And really trying to get you to have an ear for, the different instruments that are being played in the orchestra, not just whatever stands out with the melody. And I think that's kind of my approach here when it comes to playing bass and trying to have that platform for it as well. And I've mentioned people that I obviously think are just incredible bass players, Justin Chancellor of Tool and Chris Squire of Yes, and now I'm showing my age, and Geddy Lee of Rush. But, those kind of bass players, right?
Yeah. You don't sound anything like those
Well,
guys.
no, I don't, but
I love that you're saying that. I do, but I don't know. I could go on and on. I knew it was going to be good, Drew. I didn't expect to be like, I want the whole damn album. Is this part of an EP that you're planning, or is this totally?
No, I think this is going to be part of something, and even the artwork is partial. The artwork that is there is not the entire piece that I have for the album. I was thinking of it in terms of maybe putting out a couple of singles before putting an EP together, or possibly even a full, because I've got several songs in the works. But each piece giving a little more of the artwork, and then the final product, put it all there with the centerpiece that'll be left out all the time. So I don't know, it's just something different.
Okay. There's 100 things I want to ask, but your writing process. So in this song in particular, what came first? Was it the kind of ethereal, echoey guitar and the new build?
I'd say that line that's over the top of it, that ethereal, as you said, probably came last. The first thing that came was the intro. That I was really going for kind of a David Gilmour, Run Like Hell, dotted eighth note type of guitar part. I don't think it really sounds that much like it, but there definitely has that dotted eighth, and playing through some chords that way and setting that up. That was the original, and then the kind of the chorus part, which to me, there was something that, for example, like Sergeant Thunderhoof, I really like that band. I think that's a great band. Howling Giant. Those are two great bands that obviously kind of touch into the same grounds that I do, at least thematically. When you think about Howling Giant and the albums, you know, the first ones especially, Space Wizard. Oh my gosh, I love that. Yeah. Clouds of Smoke. Clouds of Smoke. I've seen Howling Giant several times and talked with those guys, and they are just, you know, the greatest guys. So nice. I just keep hoping they're going to play Clouds of Smoke sometime, because I just think that is just such a great song. I mean, everything else they've done is great, but that one just connects for me. But that backing rhythm part that's kind of more melodic, maybe, that comes in after the verse part with a kind of a darker, more dissonant type of chords that are playing behind it. That part was probably second that came. And I don't even think they were part of the same song at first. It's kind of a change that takes place to go from that kind of dotted eighth note type stuff to what comes next. It's a definite change, not just in mood, but in structure of the chords and how they fit. So, yeah.
Nice use of syncopation. Like you're... It's like, God, it just sucks me in. It's just so clever. And it's clever in really nice ways that I don't hear today, that I haven't heard in a long time. So, and you're saying that the guitars come in last, and then are you programming the drums?
Yes, that's where I'm at right now. It's definitely that, and that is, you know, one of those things that I want to get away from. But when you're on your own, you do what you got to do to make the music, and that's where it's been. But I'm happy with the way those are, but it's hopefully time to move on to finding somebody to play those parts.
One of my criticisms of this particular genre, and I always pick on Joe Satriani. I cannot stand Surfing with the Alien. It's one of the greatest albums ever. I can't, because it is this drum machine, click, mechanical, you totally avoided that. And I think the syncopation, the slight delay in things, the being deliberately off time, which, by the way, in my head is they've lost gravity, so the traveler's kind of floating and bumping into things.
That's what it's all about right there.
You know,
everybody's interpretation.
Absolutely awesome stuff. Is there any other, like, was there anything that you thought, God, I hope he asks at least this one question on this? Is there anything that comes?
No, I mean, I think that certainly I wanted that opportunity to say, I mean, it's really my guiding principle is the idea of making music that moves people to create their own vision of what it is. And I think that's, you know, you paint a picture, but you paint it in such a way that it allows the person seeing it to put their own spin on it. I mean, I love the stories of all the great albums and what they were thinking and what this song is really about and those types of things. And I love to hear that. But I still think that when I listen to a song, there's so much of myself that I imprint upon it because it fits my moment. It fits my experience. It fits my mood. And I put that upon the song, and it always will mean something special to me. Sometimes, you know, you find out later what the song really is about, and then you're like, that's not what I was thinking.